Coming up, President Trump and North Korea moving closer to a deal to denuclearize the North Korea regime. Is it going to work? We'll talk about it. Plus, New York Senator Chuck Schumer discussing the decriminalization of marijuana. Will it pass and should it? Also, our picks for 2020. We'll talk about that and more coming up.
Hello and welcome to Tower Talks. I'm David Rubin. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's get right to the news today. On the panel with me is Bria Bolden and Ryan Chandler, as well as always is Bailey Wang. We have a great show planned for you today, so let's go ahead and get right to it. We now know that the Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and Kim Jong-un had a meeting that occurred over Easter weekend, followed by North Korea State TV announcing they were suspending their nuclear program. That news has led to increased hope that the United States and North Korea can come to formal terms on denuclearizing the Korean Peninsula. President Trump spoke about his hopes for the meeting.
Hopefully that meeting will be a great success, and we're looking forward to it. It would be a tremendous thing for North Korea and a tremendous thing for the world. So we will be doing everything possible to make it a worldwide success.
This is a great move in the right direction here. Ryan, I know you love President Trump and his foreign policy, so let's talk about it.
Biggest fan.
Is this a step in the right direction? Are we closer to getting a resolution on the Korean Peninsula?
So there's a lot of factors to this. And the Trump administration has not been entirely forthright with what the implications of North Korea's quote-unquote denuclearization actually are. They were very quick to proclaim this is a victory, and it may be in some senses, but denuclearization is not as exciting as what it actually means in reality. So it's a little too early to celebrate. A lot of people think that this means that North Korea is taking away all of their nuclear weapons and is going to be a totally nuclear-free state. That's not true. Denuclearization simply means that Kim Jong-un has committed to not farther testing or developing nuclear weapons for the time being, but they're not getting rid of all of their nuclear weapons. Kim Jong-un said that he's going to have nuclear weapons around for, quote, generations, because that is the only thing that is actually giving them credibility or legitimacy on the international table. So it's a little too early to celebrate from a foreign policy standpoint.
Now, Bailey, Trump has said no sanctions are going to be lifted. These have been some concrete actions that Trump put in place that have really crippled them economically.
Yes, and I completely agree that this is a really huge step in the right direction, I would have to say, because of Trump's confidence, whatever he's using there. His strength through peace is what he's doing to get this point across, and he's telling them that he's not going to lift any sanctions against North Korea until there's dismantlement, which I think is a completely great choice, just to make sure that this is a good step. This is a start to everything. If it's not only a good step for the U.S., but the entire world, and if it's anything, it's a huge step for North Korea and South Korea to just begin talking there and stop any nuclear weapons from happening.
Now, Bria, welcome to be closer to me. We kind of just played musical chairs a little bit. What are your thoughts on all of this, and what does this mean?
I'm not entirely sure how I feel about it, really, because, like Ryan said before, what does denuclearization mean? It means one thing to the United States and also means another thing to North Korea. To North Korea, it means the United States pulling out of the North Korean peninsula, and to the United States, it means them completely abandoning their nuclear weapons program. But I think this meeting is a really good thing. I agree with everybody, but it's a little concerning because we don't really have a general consensus of what denuclearization really means.
Yeah, and the last time a meeting like this was so close was when Madeleine Albright was Secretary of State under President Clinton, and basically because it happened so late in their administration, they only had to choose between North Korea and the Middle East. They ended up choosing to try and get peace in the Middle East. Madeleine Albright came out and said she wishes that she had focused more on North Korea, so I think this is certainly a step in the right direction, and maybe, Bailey, if President Trump's able to denuclearize, he'll actually get a Nobel Peace Prize. You think they'll hand that one over to him?
I think, Obama should probably hand his over at a certain point in time.
That's true. I agree with that.
I would stop you there. I think that in a lot of ways, don't get me wrong, this is a good thing for the United States and for the international community as a whole. We definitely do need to cease North Korea farther looking into nuclear technology, but this move might actually make it harder for Trump to continue the foreign policy that he has had in that region so far. Trump has had a very hardline policy in North Korea with sanctions, with threats of nuclear force. He calls it a maximum pressure approach. But in order to continue that, he needs the support of South Korea and China. But now that North Korea is taking a step back, I don't know if they're going to get that, because South Korea and China aren't taking as much of a hardline approach. They're going to be more appeased with a compromise in North Korea, this quote-unquote denuclearization. So they might not be too wary to support Trump in his hardline policy in the future.
One of the other facets that we didn't really get a chance to talk to, and we're not going to have enough time to go around the table with it, Mike Pompeo actually went and met with Kim Jong-un over Easter weekend, and now that he's been snagged in the Senate approving his nomination, they say he's not a diplomat, but he went on Easter weekend. Do you think, Bria, that means that he can be diplomatic and he's not just a war guy? Quickly.
Honestly, I don't think so. I don't really have a lot of faith in Mike Pompeo. So
Oh.
I would say no.
Fair enough. All right, 420 may be a holiday known to just weed smokers, but with Senator Chuck Schumer calling for legalizing marijuana, could we see a national change in laws regarding marijuana? That's next.
It's a topic that seems increasingly relevant in 2018. A push for the legalization of marijuana continues to sweep the nation as government officials are divided to take their own personal stance on it. But President Trump has seemed to remain flexible with the idea of it, though members of his cabinet may oppose. One senator who has studied the pros of legalization is Senator Chuck Schumer, who defends the decriminalization of marijuana along with other officials. Let's take a look.
The legislation is long overdue. I've seen too many people's lives ruined because they had small amounts of marijuana and served time in jail much too long.
Why have you changed your mind on this issue?
Well, number one, I studied the issue, and we've now had some evidence. State of Washington, other states, where it has done lots of good and no harm.
My position is the states, under the 10th Amendment, have the right to create laws for their own citizens. Now, let the people in these states decide what it is they want to do.
What's the choice? The choice is to decriminalize, is what a lot of people do. That leaves the industry in the hands of the bad guys.
The two major platform defenses for marijuana's legalization include the medical benefits that cannabis could provide, as well as the decriminalizing it for recreational use, or even legalizing recreational use altogether, as several states have done, including Colorado and Washington. Supporters say that medical cannabis has the potential to aid patients all over the nation and to prevent citizens from facing extended amounts of jail time for minor possession. Now, this is a huge topic going on, and I know it's been going on for a long time because the rest of the world has legalized it in other countries for sure, but America has not yet. But our president, who usually is actually a Republican, has taken a more moderate stance on this. What do you believe about that,
Well,
David?
I think Trump is a populist, and people obviously want marijuana to be at least decriminalized, if not outright legal. The one thing I think is that you can't just have something illegal because you don't like it, and that's the one thing that the Republicans have been saying for years, is that it's bad. Like, they have no scientific proof to say that marijuana is bad for you. And I think what it comes down to is just because you don't like something doesn't mean it should be illegal. And that's really just legalizing, or rather making law based on your emotions, and that's not ever what you should be doing. I also think, too, that if you end the taboo of weed and you legalize it, it probably would make it kids less likely to do it. I think, one of the things about marijuana, everybody says it's a gateway drug. Again, no proof. So I think it should just be legal. And quite honestly, single issue voters that are moderates, and that's what happened in New Jersey with the governor race. He wanted to legalize weed. He got elected. He probably would have got elected anyway, but it certainly helped single issue swing voters. So I think really Trump needs to say that we need to legalize weed. Why not?
And building off of that, whatever Trump, his response to it was that he was going to see what happens with it, which I completely understand, especially with the decriminalization of it. Bria, what's your take on that?
Well, I think a lot of black voters in general, I think this topic is very important to the African American community because well, in 2016, 46% of marijuana arrests were on Black Americans, and it's a very big issue. I know, especially because recreational use of marijuana has become so mainstream. But why are you seeing so many people of color locked up for it? That doesn't make any sense to me. And I think that the American people definitely want to see this legalized. 6 in 10 Americans want marijuana to be legal in the United States, and I think it should be.
And you see, my personal stance on it is I'm very pro medical use of it, but recreational, when it comes down to it, I believe that there's a lot more research that needs to be done, especially with implementing a drug in a society. Like, you can't sit here and tell me that there are only pros to marijuana. That marijuana, I mean, it's green, but it's not a vegetable. Like, there's some cons to it, especially whenever you're bringing it into a nation that hasn't had marijuana legalized before, especially when we talk about jobs, also, like, for example, like I lifeguard. So I have to take a drug test in order to do that. If I was prescribed medical cannabis to be able to be on guard to save other people's lives, like, is there a job regulation? Would I not be able to do that anymore? What would be going on there? So Ryan, what do you think about bringing that into a society that has not had marijuana legalized before?
Sure. In my opinion, this issue should be over. Nobody's saying that marijuana is entirely healthy. Sure, it's a drug, but it is scientifically proven to be more healthy and less addictive than alcohol and cigarettes, which are entirely legal now and promoted to an extent in society. But to the extent that 61% of the population supports the full recreational legalization of marijuana, according to Pew Research, if Trump really is a populist and wants to appease his voters, he would not only take a moderate stand on it, but actively go against his cabinet, which has been aggressively against it, and push for legalization. Because at this point, it is just immoral to keep it so criminalized as it is. I mean, it's a Schedule I drug above cocaine, and it is less dangerous than so many other drugs.
Are you aware what it does in the frontal cortex of the brain?
Are you aware that what alcohol and cigarettes do to the brain? I mean, sure. As I said, it's not entirely healthy.
So
but
you don't believe
I
there would be an
it should be a
uprising from bringing that
personal
into a
choice.
community that's never had that before?
Medical marijuana is proven to have a lot of medical benefits, far over a lot of the other substances that are legal. And while it may have some effects on the brain, they're far less dangerous than getting addicted to prescription pills or opioids.
When it comes to addiction,
it is
do you
an
know
alternative to.
Addiction actually is a disease in the brain, so you can't control like what you are addicted to.
I mean, this is the one thing. If you're going to focus on a war on drugs, we do have an opioid issue in the country, and I think the medical industry should spend more time, and psychiatric industry should spend more time focusing on helping people that have opioid addiction as opposed to marijuana addiction. I mean, the worst thing that happens, you smoke a little weed, you know, put on Half Baked and laugh your butt off for 2 hours. Like, I mean, who cares? You do opioids and you're basically risking an overdose every time. And I know there's no long-term knowledge really of the benefits or downfalls of it, but quite honestly, you know, alcohol, cigarettes, there's a lot more dangerous stuff about that. We'll leave it right there. 2020 is not too far away, and this might be a very big issue after Joe Biden said he will decide by January of 2019 to run. The panel and I will talk about who the Democrats should run to take over the White House. That and more when Tower Talks continues.
The 2018 fall midterm elections will determine who will gain or keep control of Congress. And some question whether these results could also give the public an idea of who will run for president in 2020. Speaker of the House Paul Ryan says he will not seek re-election and will retire from Congress at the end of 2018. Former Vice President Joe Biden says he'll announce whether or not he plans to run for president in 2020 by the end of 2018. And President Trump says he's not sure about a 2020 re-election campaign, but if he does decide to run, his 2020 campaign slogan will be "Keep America Great." However, the question still remains, who will be running for president in 2020? So guys, I know we're approaching 2020 pretty quickly. I mean, fall 2018 midterm elections are literally coming up real fast. So do we think that Trump is going to run again in 2020?
Well, he already announced his campaign for re-election, so I would hope so. I don't know.
But he said he
Let's
was
see
like,
if he
I
makes it
don't
to
know.
2020 first.
He'll make it. He'll make it.
We'll make sure.
Okay, Bailey, what do you think?
I think he definitely will. I think that that's a great stance. I mean, with his like character and how he is and whatever he's bringing, like I believe that he's definitely going to run. He's definitely going to try
His
again.
ego's way too big not to.
Yes.
And he's gonna run and he's gonna win.
Well, with that ego, you see the success our economy and both with Korea has actually had. So
I'm confused,
yes.
but okay. Democrats, on that side, who's going to run? Who do you think can actually beat Trump?
Oprah and Stedman.
Okay.
And Oprah has already said that she's not
honestly,
going to run. She never said she was going to run. That was a rumor started on Twitter.
Well,
if the United States votes for
let's say
Donald Trump,
that.
they vote
Let's
for
see.
Oprah instead.
Stormy Daniels could probably win because Democrats love her.
Oh my God.
Hillary Clinton could probably run again.
I don't think she's
She's
run again.
God.
She won't get out of the spotlight. I don't see why she wouldn't run again. A lot of Obama administration people want to run. Like Eric Holder said he was thinking about it. What do you think of Eric Holder?
Eric Holder, honestly, I think what the Democrats need now is a new, fresh face, and I think they have a lot of those that are going to put their hat in the ring. Eric Holder almost seems too establishment. He's been in the White House before. Don't get me wrong, he's very qualified, and I would vote for him as of now, but that's not what the Democrats need in order to appeal to the people who want to see a fresh face and change.
You know, I personally think Eric Holder, I'm surprised when applying the Democrat logic to him as a candidate. You would think that the NRA would just love him because of how easy he made it for criminals to get guns during Fast and Furious, contempt of Congress. He seems like an NRA's best friend. I don't know. I think they would get bipartisan support there.
Well, the Democrats will vote for whoever
and by
has
the way,
lowest approval rating with the NRA.
And of course, that happened in the scandal-free Obama administration too. So,
All right.
The Obama administration actually had a lot of things, and like for
They
example,
did.
let's say
Benghazi.
Joe Biden, who is trying to announce his campaign now too, which I believe, like what you're saying, a fresh face. That's exactly what Democrats would need, because I feel like Joe Biden, he has a case of foot and mouth disease. I would say,
Bailey-
constantly saying the wrong thing.
If
Believe me.
if voters really cared about the president saying the wrong thing or saying something stupid, they wouldn't have put Trump in office.
Oh, well, you have the vice president saying racial things against his own president.
I'm not like.
Listen.
At the point where you support Trump and all of the racist things he says, I'm not going to take a criticism about Joe Biden.
But still,
for
are you
that.
supporting
okay,
your
hold
own
on.
president?
Wait. Last week you said that you don't like Trump because he degrades women and he has said racist things.
Yeah, absolutely.
In
That's a
2006, Joe Biden said you cannot go to a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts without a slight Indian accent. I'm not joking. Then, on top of that, in 1991, he was clearly bad with sexual harassment in the Anita Hill case against Clarence Thomas. So really, when you think about it, the same things that you said about Donald Trump last week now don't apply because everybody loves the Obama administration.
Whoa, I never said anything about Joe Biden on this show.
He is representing Obama, though, you see
Right.
there.
He's representing himself if he chooses to run, but I don't know if he should. Honestly, Joe Biden is definitely qualified to be president, but I don't know if he's personally or politically ready to make that leap.
I don't believe he is as qualified there. Also, let's go on the fact that, yes, okay, dealing with foreign relations, his son served in Iraq, which I completely, I support and I respect that. But on the other hand, Joe Biden himself has been caught many times for mixing up military terminology, which is a big no whenever it comes to dealing with foreign relations and foreign
You should
nations
read what
going
Trump's
on.
cabinet and his military officials have to say about that, but I don't want this to be an Obama versus Trump argument. Let's talk about who can actually get up in 2020. And I don't know if Joe Biden is that person. Again, he's very establishment. People have seen him in Washington for years.
I just feel like
So
he
I
has
don't
a
know if
big
that's what
past
Democrats
that he
need.
needs to, that he will be having haunt him the whole time.
Sure. And
And
he'll
all the
also be
creepy
78 in
photos.
2020,
There's
and
a lot
maybe a
of
bit old.
history there.
But I want to talk about fresh faces like Kirsten Gillibrand, who is perfect for this era of people say Me Too or the women's movement. If the Democrats really want a fresh face and show that they are very progressive, they would put up a woman like Kamala Harris, minority woman. Kirsten Gillibrand, very outspoken about women's issues. You also have people like Cory Booker, who, I don't know, a handsome young black man, did very well for the Democrats in 2008 and 2012.
Cory Booker clearly hates women because he mansplained against Christian Nielsen. Bria, real quick, who do you think should be running?
Honestly, I have no idea. I love the idea of Kamala Harris. Love
Yes.
her. I wish Oprah would run. She's not going to, but
And if you need more minority women to run, Elizabeth Warren probably can too as well. All right, last word coming up next.
and welcome back to Tower Talks. It's time for today's last word. I guess I'll start. My last word isn't really a news story. It's really just going out to David. I know this is your last show for the semester. We'll have another moderator coming on next week. But I just wanted to say thank you very much for starting this show. You've been great at producing and leading this, and I just wanted to say congratulations on your big internship. He's going to be working for CBS This Morning in New York this summer.
I will.
Just
I'm excited.
props to you.
And we can't wait to have him back next semester.
I can't wait to be back next semester.
Oh, I'm so sad. Wow.
I'll piggyback off of that real quick. I just want to send a thank you to all of our news department, especially Chelsea, Sean, Cloud, Walton, everybody that's here in studio. You guys are amazing. We have Maddie, Emma, Kayla, Sally. Ben has been here a lot. I want to thank all of you. We've only done a few shows, and especially my co-host, but really this is great. This is what should be encouraged, is dissent, political discussion that doesn't get personal, that's really what we do. We don't take this as soon as we leave the studio. Like, we don't.
Absolutely.
I see you guys very often. We don't talk politics at all until we sit down and the light comes on. So I just wanted to piggyback off of that.
For sure. Bria.
That was beautiful. Well, ACL tickets go on sale next Monday, so I don't know about y'all, but I will be buying mine. Oh, also the lineup is also dropping next Monday as well.
Ooh.
I'm personally hoping to see Cardi B headlining because that is
I
my
bet she'll
girl.
be there.
I love her.
I don't know about a headliner. Is she
You don't
doing
think
that?
she-
I would love to see her. But
I don't know. She was on the main stage at Coachella last
Okay,
week. We
okay.
know I can't stop
I
talking
think
about
Mason
Coachella.
Ramsey is going to
So
headline.
Oh.
we
I'd
have
buy my
talked about
ticket
him
just
on
for
every
that.
single show. He's
That's
not
right.
coming. Every single show we've talked about
He was
Yodeling
at
Boy.
the Grand Ole Opry. I don't see why he can't be at this.
Gosh.
I will lose my mind if he's at ACL.
I can't wait. I went last year. It was the first time I went, and I had such a good time. I'm a big Chili Peppers fan.
Oh, yeah.
So that was a must.
They
for
were
me.
amazing. Chance the Rapper, one of the best shows I've ever seen.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah,
for
it was
sure.
fantastic.
Yeah. And going back to Texas news there for sure, my last word would be, so if y'all have heard about the man who loved fajitas a little bit too much, that he actually stole $1.2 million worth of fajitos. That is Gilberto Escamilla. And he actually was sentenced to 50 years after stealing that much fajitas. He worked at a juvenile detention center in San Benito, Texas, and it turns out he had been placing orders for fajitas using county funds and selling them for profits since 2008. He was sentenced to 50 years last Friday. The police raided his house and found packs of fajitas in his fridge. And all the employees at the juvenile detention center were wondering, and they were suspicious as to why the students were never receiving fajitas. So just a little bit of Texas Tex-Mex in there for you.
Wait, I have a question. Who buys fajitas off the black market?
He was ordering them. He was ordering them
but
in.
then
Yeah.
he was selling them. And
For, I know who's like, would you want fajitas?
Like, yeah, I got this.
Where do you sell fajitas on your own?
David's one to talk. David doesn't eat
I
Mexican
don't.
food.
He doesn't.
I'm not
See?
Texas at all.
Unacceptable. I gotta say.
We'll fix it. We'll fix it. It's
We'll
okay.
take it
All
out.
right, my last word today. I believe in Final Destination. This kid is proof. Dylan McWilliams. He was bitten by a shark, a rattlesnake, and a bear, all within 4 years. Talk about having good luck while also having bad luck at the same time. Really, this is kind of amazing, and I think he's been escaping death narrowly. Final Destination, I think there's like 6 of them now. This is going to be the 7th. He will have the 7th Final Destination, and this will be an Emmy Award-winning movie, I can guarantee it. Because this
I'd
poor
watch it.
kid, you think your days are bad. Imagine, like,
Yikes.
what are the odds of that?
He's got great stories now, though.
All right, that's our show. Never miss an episode of Tower Talks. Thank you so much for joining us. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook at Tower Talks TSTV for full episodes and more. KVR is back on Monday night right here on TSTV for their last show this semester. Don't miss it. We'll be back here next week. For Bria Bolden, Ryan Chandler, and Bailey Wang, I'm David Rubin, and this has been Tower Talks.